And we are rolling.
Zabadow.
We are on. Am I? You were very quiet in my ear.
I'm just invisible.
Okay.
Hopefully I've got a good. Hopefully I've got a decent mic level at least.
Yeah.
If I'm
so
really
far.
quiet. Yeah.
Yep,
Good.
So far.
Good.
So far. So yeah, I got Dad's computer. Yeah. Hello everybody. Dad's computer's back up, so hopefully he'll be up. He'll be okay. He's watching What the Hales. They're apparently in court for another 100 times. Granddaughter should be over in a couple hours.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah. She just loves me for my swing set, though.
Dang, chicks.
Chicks, man. Crap.
Now, well, I'll ask again so that you can tell everybody. How you feeling?
I was feeling okay. I got a tonsil spasm. I have chemo.
Oh my.
Yeah. I have chemo on Monday. So I'm about as good as I get for the next 2 months.
Right.
I have a light goatee. I started growing it a few days ago, or I should actually just say I stopped shaving a couple days ago, and then I've cleaned up a little bit. But after I get my rituximab, of course the goatee will have to go because I'll rash out.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm feeling good right now, but it's because I am just about to re-poison myself.
Yeah.
Yay!
A little bit awesome when that becomes no longer necessary.
I don't even know what that would look like at this point. I've been poisoned so long that being healthy seems foreign to me. But I feel pretty good right now. I did a bunch of burpees yesterday. So that actually felt, well, terrible, but it felt good to be able to do them.
Now, what exactly are burpees? I think I've heard about these things, but I'm going like, I should know. But is this where you drink a bunch of soda pop and then just let it rip?
Yes. Yeah. In essence, you just belch it out there. No, they're
I'd be good
like
at that.
Yeah. They're like a CrossFit staple. You go from a standing position. You squat down, or you kind of jump down onto your stomach, hands like into a push-up position, and then you stand back up and then jump and put your hands just over your head, and then do it over and over.
Why do they call them burpees?
I don't know.
Do they shake a bunch of gas out of you?
They do. You will, if there's gas in you or anything that wants to come out, it will definitely try. But it's a movement. You're just going from standing to a push-up position and jumping up. And at the end of the jump up, you have to actually just leave the ground a little tiny bit and make sure your hands get over your head. So you don't have to jump way up. You just jump up enough to complete the movement. And you do 5, 10, 15 of those, and man, I'm huffing. I see.
Sounds pretty intense.
Yeah. It's supposed to be an all-around tightening fitness movement. Of course, I still have to do them adjusted, so I can't go on my palms. So I have to do it on my knuckles. So I usually have to have a pad, so I go down on my knuckles. If it's like gritty concrete, I can't do it, or I'll screw up my knuckles. Burpees. When in doubt, if you have no other way to exercise, do burpees until you want to die, and you will get fit.
I will remember that.
Yeah. Burpees until you die. Yes. People in cells do a lot of burpees.
Sounds logical.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Let's
there's the
no incarceration, please.
yeah. Well, I'd like to avoid it too,
No.
and I don't even know why I
That's
think about it. I don't know.
because you don't actually have to do anything wrong anymore to get incarcerated. Is probably the idea.
I would say apparently that is true.
Yeah. Freedom.
So
It's
did
great
you
that
have
we
it?
have the most freedoms in the world and at the same time the most people behind bars in the world.
Oh, you're just
Weird how that
going
works
right
out.
into it.
Yeah. Go ahead. You were going to say something about, yeah.
No, most I was going to ask what you wanted to talk about, but if you would like to start a thread with the Department of Corrections, I'm game.
I don't. Gosh,
That's
I don't
cool.
like.
I thought it would be quite depressing.
Yeah, the start of my day. It's just the state and government. It's just the continuation of slavery,
Right.
with
Well,
orange jumpsuits
I suppose.
instead of other jumpsuits.
Well, so without getting too much into the pressing, if it's possible to avoid that, the one simple question that I would only pose is: are there some people that should be incarcerated?
Well, of course,
Obviously, okay.
of
And
course.
in the case of those some people that we should probably just incarcerate for the safety of society and maybe even the safety of themselves, although that's not to a much lesser degree, because obviously something to keep in mind very, very importantly is that at any time, most people, and I say that only because there might be the odd exception for somebody with a massive chemical imbalance or possibly schizophrenia or something else, most people have the ability to control their actions such that they could at the very least avoid doing something that would earn them the ire of society and motivate the rest of us to, sue to or pray to, wanting to put them in prison. Most people can avoid that with simple choices they make. Obviously, we know that there are notable exceptions, and sometimes there's going to be some people who say, well, shit, it's only drugs, and I want to be able to do them, and they're willing to take the risk, and then they end up, in a bad place, and that's not good. That would be a lovely thing to change about the legal system and the Department of Corrections and everything else associated with. But that notwithstanding, the simple question then is, for the people who are incarcerated, who need to be incarcerated for the safety of society, because they made those bad choices to kill somebody or to rape somebody or whatever they did, is that considered slavery?
No.
Okay, good.
It's what they do with them after they're incarcerated that warrants the slavery. Just putting someone in prison is putting someone in prison. People didn't own slaves just to own slaves, right?
Of course. So
it's how they're used and abused after they're incarcerated, in my mind, partially why they're slaves. Now, to go a step before all of this, you might ask, or some might ask, if they have the ability to choose the right way and not do a crime, perhaps with the amazing amount of people that are in prison for the crimes they're choosing to do, maybe we should think about why they're doing those crimes and change that aspect of society instead of just scooping them up after the fact.
I'm totally on board with that.
Yeah, let's not just keep mopping up the blood. Let's address the wound. Let's address where the blood's coming from.
Hey, just real quick. Don't mean to change the subject, but I'm gonna execute a little machine here, and I'm just curious to see
Did it do something wrong?
what it sounds like. Here we go. You ready? I'm pushing the button. Today.
It sounds like a Star Wars droid booting up.
Yeah. That's exactly what it was. Nope.
Yes.
It was actually that's the floor jack elevating a cabinet, a 6 foot tall cabinet that is installed with servers like you do.
Like you do.
And I am now running the simplest of all cables to those servers, power cables from the power distribution unit.
Like you do.
How cool is that?
That's pretty cool. Enjoy it while you can. The robots are coming.
You would love this.
I might, but I do it all day here. I just did that fiasco switching out Dad's computer.
Dang it, what's happening, man?
Is there someone in the room with you? Oh, you went away. You went away. I do not hear you.
You already know my situation. I probably won't be doing this much longer. I think we're having just a little bit of a lag issue, too.
We are disconnect.
Oh, damn it. Can you hear me? I'll take that as a no.
Oh, there you are.
Yes. I was able to hear you the whole time.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Well, mostly there was a point where you were crapping out, but then when you were saying disconnect, I could hear you. So I was like going, well, there's hope left.
Okay. I gave it a minute. The internet here is being weird too.
Weird.
I had to reboot all the stuff. And of course, Chrome again updated, so I had to update Chrome, and then the ad blocker didn't like being updated or in an updated Chrome, so I had to do that, and just first world problems.
Oi.
Adjust.
Okay. So we were talking about Department of Corrections and the people who were making the choice and what their incentives for making choices that would land them in the Department of Corrections industrial complex.
Right, provided it wasn't just straight up victimization or racism or something personal or a cop that is bad putting people for another. Provided they've done a crime,
right,
of some sort. I think other countries do it way better, as the Norwegian countries in particular, because their recidivism, their recidivism is like 0.5% of what ours is. It's they just don't have people that come back to prison because they don't do again what they were doing, because in prison they get treated humanely and trained and with a focus of trying to reintroduce them into society without them repeating the crime. Whereas here they just slap them in and go make license plates and try not to get raped. And it's the worst. It's the worst of the worst places, because here in America, we love to punish whatever it is, as long as we can make someone suffer for some perceived issue. Americans are happy. Where in other countries, it seems a little more, the more mature countries, they don't want people committing crimes anymore. So when they put them into prison, they educate them so that they're less likely to commit crimes.
I want to speculate on what that education might be, but before we do, I want to just run by you some real slam dunk economics with regards to why people might choose to commit a crime, and see if you accept it, see if you like it, it's okay, and then we can move ahead with the speculation on what that training is, because that's going to come down to a very interesting idea that I've been rattling around in my head. Okay, so with regards to why somebody would commit a crime, I would submit to you that it has to do with the incentives versus the risk. They're doing a risk-reward analysis, and while it's risky, they could get caught, they could be incarcerated, they could be fined. The reward is that they might get lots of money, they might not have to work anymore.
Diabolical.
What's the big idea? I thought we'd steal
a lot of money, not have to work anymore. Yes. So that's really what it boils down to now. In a place like the United States, where it would seem statistically that crime is kind of on the rise, it appears that some of those counter incentives, the things that would more or less disincentivize somebody to commit the crime in the first place, have been reduced or eliminated, such that the risk factor has gone down. They believe, well, I could do the crime and the reward is right there, and the risk is I might get caught, but with the way things are going right now, there's a very good chance that I'll get released on bail, or they're just gonna slap them on the wrist with no charges at all, and I'm back out on the street. And so because the risk has gone down, the risk-reward ratio increased such that they felt like they were the reward was now well in. Does that make sense? I know it's a little bit of rambling and incoherent, but basically, sure. The other thing would be that once they're caught and they're criminals, the penalties are so harsh that there's no way they're getting out of it anyway. So they might as well just keep doing crimes. Because once you have a criminal record, you're not getting hired at anywhere that's going to pay you or have any kind of a respectable chance. So the first incarceration for any kind of bad behavior, and it's not 3 strikes, it's 1 strike. So here it's 1 strike, and you are now a garbage human that will never be allowed to stand up straight unless you do something extreme. So yeah, I buy into, I follow what you're laying down there.
And what you're also saying too is that we could then decrease recidivism by incentivizing job creators to hire people that have been through the prison system.
Right. And there's a lot of those people, especially in the food service industries. I've seen quite a few documentaries and YouTube specials and just interviews where a guy had been to prison himself or had some family go to prison, and he decided, I'm gonna hire them and do what I can to help. So there are those people that have compassion and are compelled by their compassion to be active and hire people with crime.
Exactly. I've actually met one of those guys locally. He lives here in Brevard.
There are quite a few of them. I wish they had more power. I wish they'd run for government. I wish they would try and make laws to try and fix the criminal justice system instead of just, again, trying to mop up the blood of the bleeding wound.
Well, good
on them.
They got.
Yeah, good on them.
Doing the best they can. They're working with what they got. And frankly, if I was going to, I wouldn't want to impose any criticism on what they're doing, because they are effectively doing more than I do.
True. Yes. I was just thinking the same thing. It's like, I could probably do the same thing, but as owning a massage center, I don't know how many people are quite willing to go, oh, you were arrested for sexual assault and now you're going to give me a massage? How about no? So there's some things, some jobs I don't think are in that, but food prep, animal maintenance, doing zoo stuff, doing veterinary assistance. Although there's lots of jobs you could. I would rather, though, address the issue before and kind of go back to, well, why did you feel the need to commit this particular crime, and fix that. Again,
do some self-analysis, and yes.
Yeah.
I can totally dig where your head is at. So does that be the beginning of the speculation with regards to what kind of training they receive while they are in the carcerated?
Well, yeah. I was just kind of, as you're
self-analysis, self-analysis, and
yeah.
Because that seems like that'd be pretty important.
Well, the first thing that I'm noticing for the Norwegian prison system is apparently they started out with very similar prison population to the United States back in the 90s. And the recidivism rate. And then they figured out that it wasn't working.
They decided to do something different.
And their prisons were plagued with assaults, riots, and escapes. Today's Norway prison has become the model for the rest of the world in some states. Okay, this are following, so they're starting to. Norway has 57 prisons, total of 3,600 cells, high security cells. Different incarceration systems, USA. Norway does not have large centralized jails. Instead, Norway utilizes a system of small community-based correctional facilities that focus on rehabilitation and reintegration into society.
Community-based. That's interesting.
Norwegian government believes that incarcerated individuals should be geographically close to their homes so they can maintain relationships with their spouses, friends, and family. So not breaking up the family. That's right. A non-broken family seems to be a good fucking start for not ruining people's lives.
That's huge.
Because children don't get it. Norwegian prison allows for prisoners to have visitors up to 3 times a week. Conjugal visits, of course. Strong support system after their release. They look like tiny homes. Okay. Library. Yeah. So why do they stay? Because the incentives to stay at the prison are so high. Bastoy is one of the prisons that allows conjugal visits with spouses. It also offers a school, workshops, recreational activities, and anti-violence drug counseling. So they encourage them to stay in prison versus making prisons that aren't able to be escaped from. That was a sentence. The penal code will have 30-year maximum prison sentences, no matter what.
I wonder what Norway is doing to disincentivize the crime in the first place, because I would probably dare to speculate just a little bit that their incarceration is probably not enough to do that.
Norway prison systems focus not only on emotional and moral rehabilitation, but also on job skills. That's one reason why prisoners who were unemployed before prison see a 40% increase in employment rates after prison. And I think that sentence right there
probably explains it.
40% will lower prison recidivism. It lowers it by 40%.
Yeah.
And people with jobs and money and self-respect commit less crimes.
Yep. Makes sense.
But that's not what we do here. That's not what we do.
No, that is not what we do.
Do you know why? Do you know why? I know why. Well, there's lots of documentaries on it.
Explain it.
The prison industrial complex.
Yes.
The prison industrial complex. So prisons, private prisons, I mean, and I know capitalists and right-wingers and all my negative, what's the right-wing term for woke? Woke is everything that people hate about the left. What's the right wing? Nazi is the only. So Nazis, I'm going to go with Nazi for now. So what the Nazis think, it's not, I know. It's the opposite of woke, though, isn't it?
I don't know. I wouldn't have defined woke as you did either, but...
Really? Okay.
No.
I've never been able to get somebody to tell me what woke is, other than whatever it is the person happens to hate about the left at the time.
Oh, no, I can tell you what woke is. Woke is the notion that you think you have red-pilled yourself, but you haven't. And woke is, as woke does, truly awakened.
Yes, I knew you would say that. Yes.
Yes, a truly awakened is as truly awakened does.
Yeah, you didn't define woke at all, but I appreciate the effort.
You're right.
But
I
no.
probably would need to encapsulate it into a series of behaviors.
Yeah. But it's only on the left. There's no. Are you saying that there's woke right wingers?
You bet.
Okay. Well, if you're using the term fairly, cool.
Yeah,
I
would.
So anything
I wouldn't spread that between left and right at all. It's all encompassing.
Okay, because the right really does put it on the left.
Right. Well, I'll give you an example of a woke right winger. Are you ready for this?
I'm okay.
Any Christian out there?
Well, yeah.
They're just woke to what they think is the right thing, but it's absolutely wrong.
No. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't. If you don't put your definition of woke out there, nobody else on the internet is going to know what you're saying. Because woke, from all of my journeys on the internet, has always been reference to the left.
I get that, and all I would do is, all I can do is the same thing that I do anytime I'm in conversation with somebody, is just know that the behaviors of somebody who is classically defined as woke, and by classically I mean as in by however that would be looking in the Urban Dictionary or whoever, I don't care which dictionary you use, the same definition applies to anybody, or I should say the same behaviors, for all intents and purposes, could be ascribed to somebody who is devoutly religious.
Sure. I'll go with that. But just know that anytime you say the term woke, everybody else, and probably me most of the time, is going to think you're talking about leftists. So you're trying to... You remember... Oh, God, what was his name?
Rumpelstiltskin.
No, close.
Art Garfunkel.
That's not
Funky Winkerbean.
No.
3 guesses, I'm out.
There was a guy that I followed for a long time, had a tattoo of a little boy peeing on his forehead.
Put on his forehead?
He had a tattoo. Yeah, he had other face tattoos, but he legally changed his name to the N-word, and then went out and into the ghettos and told people, and was trying to say that he did it to change the definition of the word to mean human, to make everyone the N-word. Now, back in the day, I would have just said the N-word. I've taken those videos down because you can't even say it in context anymore. But he was trying to change the name or the definition of what the N-word meant by using it in a humanitarian way, applying it to something. And it didn't work. And I think your idea of trying to change the definition, I see a similarity in your definition of woke and how you're trying to use it. So, but good luck. Good luck. I wish him luck too. I wish him luck too.
Well, I feel a lot safer than the idea of changing my name to the N-word just so that I can try to be a little bit... Because that almost just sounds like you're trying to get yourself some bad press. And bad press is... Any press is good press. Let's shoot that one.
he was nutty. He was nutty.
Demonized.
One of the reasons I followed him. Although he was also brilliant in a lot of ways because he had the marmoset. He was warning society about the marmoset threat. So I appreciate that about him.
What is the marmoset threat? I don't mean to go off on a threat here, but I don't know about the marmoset threat.
They're little and they get in your ear and they make you do stuff. They get inside your head and make you do marmoset stuff. It was.
Are you fucking with me right now?
No, it was a whole thing. It was a whole world building thing he had started with. What the hell is his name? Man, it was early YouTube. People are just doing.
Sounds like he was way ahead of his time.
He was way ahead of his time. I can't remember what his name is. It'll come to me after we're done. But anyway, the prison industrial complex.
Yes.
Kind of getting back around to that.
Yes, getting back on it.
And the reason woke came up is because a lot of people on the right or capitalists think that anything that goes private doesn't cost taxpayers money. I don't know why they think this.
Oh, I don't know.
It's ridiculous.
I don't know of any,
oh, no. They say, oh, no.
Person.
You say it. Well,
no, I don't
private
say it like
companies
that.
are more efficient. Private companies are better. Private companies don't have the issues that governments have.
Well, let me put a caveat on that right now so that you can know. If the private company's business model involves rent seeking, then no, that's not better. That's not good. That's not what I would consider even a private company, frankly. That's just...
Well, that's every online company now is a rent-seeking company. Anything that has a prescription, a subscription, is rent.
Well,
my Pandora, my music is rent.
Okay. I'm not. That's
Riverside. This software we're using is rent. And that's what the whole Yaka, the Greek guy, bald, beautiful, stoic man. The Greek was saying that we are now in technological feudalism.
Okay.
Because of the rent society. Because we've gotten back to the rent, as you were saying, rent.
That's fine. So I'll have to further classify because traditionally I understood rent seeking as meaning in pursuit of government funds. If that's not the actual definition of rent seeking, then that's not right. I'll redefine it more specifically as if the business model of said company involves the pursuit of government funds, then it's not good business model, not something I would consider to be actually private or good. Well, did I say that? Good.
That's every pharmaceutical company. That's every college. That's every business. That's every business.
There is certain aspects of some of those businesses that you mentioned that are in pursuit of grant monies, government, which is for all intents and purposes government monies, but not every business does that. Not every business incorporates a subsidy as part of their business model or part of their revenue.
No, not every business. Just businesses like Walmart and the giant pharmaceutical companies and
how is
military
Walmart subsidized?
And the prison. Welfare.
Oh, because they
pay their employees such small amounts that almost all of them are qualified for welfare.
Well, that's
so that's a direct. Yeah, see, that's a direct issue. They are able to pay their employees so little because they know government will subsidize them and in the form of welfare.
Yeah.
And the same, ironically or not ironically, is the same for prison. Private prison systems are not. They get most of their money from the government for each prisoner. So the whole term private prison is bullshit. Because the only thing is privately owned, government funded prison system is the only other thing. There's government-run systems, and there's privately owned government-funded systems. And those are the only two, and they're both government-funded. And one tries to reduce overhead to the point where it's dangerous to the prisoners in order to maximize self-profit, right?
Right.
Whereas, like, a general government-run facility isn't run for profit. It's run to a standard that keeps humanity somewhat in check. Whereas private doesn't even bother with humanity. It just says profits over everything. So there's no private prison system. There is only the prison industrial complex, which gets paid per prisoner, and they get paid more the more prisoners they have. And they're the people that put them in prison, like police officers, are trained, or the whole thing is to get people in prison. And now we have what they call it, the school to prison railroad. Yeah, there you go. So they're putting children in prison that have tantrums in school. And then once there, not only do they make money from the government, their private prisons are government tit-sucking evil bastards. Not only do they do that, but they also lease out their prisoners like properties to do money that the private prison then gets more money for. So it's government
so let's talk
funded
about that
slavery.
Right. Let's talk about that part of it, because my first question would be, are the incarcerees compelled to do that work against their will? As in, you have to do it at the risk of punishment. And what do we suppose those punishments entail? Is it solitary confinement only, or is it beatings too? Is it a?
One of them I heard was saying they take your phone rights away if you don't do. So they take prison rights away. They take the things that other prisoners are allowed to do in prison, and they take that away. Punishment.
That might be enough to incentivize most people to
work in prisons. Incarcerated individuals are stripped of their rights to refuse work. 3 out of every 4 incarcerated individuals reporting being forced to work under the threat of additional punishment, such as solitary confinement, denial of sentence reductions, or loss of visitation privileges. So there's multiple, So they are punished for not working for the man.
That makes sense.
Slavery.
Now,
Slavery.
Now, do they have no legal protections with regards to that? They can't get a lawyer who's able to step up and go, now hang on a sec here. You
mean a free lawyer from the government?
So essentially, I got you. So they would have to be able to afford a lawyer that was actually
right. And if they could afford a lawyer, guess where they wouldn't be?
More than likely.
So it's slavery on the poor. And I'm not even going to say it's slavery against just the blacks or just against minorities, even though they tend to be the most prevalent in prisons. It's more slavery of the poor. Yeah. But slavery is slavery nonetheless.
That's the sad part of this whole entire discussion and thread. And unless you want to carry on with more detail, we don't have to belabor that point. We know that it's bad, obviously, and I feel totally powerless to do anything to change it. If there was a single act that I, as a private individual, could take to try to help combat this sort of thing, what do you suppose it would be? Or even more than just a single. If there was something we could do, what would it be? Do we have to become activists? Do we have to go lobby? Do we have to?
That clearly isn't working either.
So the best thing we could do at this point, I would say, only, and that's not very much, is to just raise awareness. That's what we're doing right now.
Raise awareness and don't get caught up in it yourself. Don't be part of it.
Thanks for the safety tip, Ray.
Yeah. Don't be poor. That's the other thing. Don't be poor. Anything to reduce poverty. Yeah, we're doing great, huh? Yeah. Yeah. See, the problem's pretty. It's goes back to, well, the rich want to stay rich, and to do that, they want to punish the poor. Because...
Well, now here's a question too: how not poor do you have to be, do you think, to help lower the risk of this sort of thing happening to you or me? I mean, if I was in a situation where I was just out of debt, no major, net worth, but just not sporting a bunch of, credit card debt, would that be enough to help make it so that I wouldn't find myself in a position to be poor?
I doubt it. Unless you had good credit and a lawyer takes credit. Because really the system, as I've seen it, as it appears, is that if you have enough money to have a lawyer defend you, then you're generally okay.
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 So we're not talking about general middle class people being able to avoid this. That's not rich enough. The only way you can avoid it is to be, at the very least, upper middle class, and more than likely, frankly, you'd need to be just a little bit more, middle class than that.
And also, is once you're there, you're also less compelled to do crimes, but you're a lot less compelled to do violent crimes. So you get a lot of white collar crime, but see, that's a smack on the wrist. So that's where unless you steal from rich people, then you're in trouble. But as long as you have enough money, any kind of white collar crime is just going to be a fee. So there's no crimes. There's just opportunities that might cost you a little money up front or at the end if you get caught. And if you don't get caught, well, it's added profit. So that's the upper system. The lower system for us schlubs is and actually, I think I am at the moment with working with Dad's income, with my income, and where I'm at now, I can afford a lawyer. I'd be able to afford it once to get me out of that. But I think most people that are just make a little bit less than I do are in trouble. And the other thing is I have a lot of family support and friend support. So even if I did stumble, I know there'd be people that would help me out.
Yeah.
And a lot of people
have a support system.
Yeah, a lot of people don't have that. And I think that's probably what I'm most grateful for every day is the support system. And just somehow I managed to be just not enough of a dick to push everyone away. just charming enough that
you're walking that line, man.
Yeah, I am walking the line.
Well, I think you also hit on an important point here, only that in that the support group that a person has is going to be huge with regards to whether they're, at risk of being put into the school to prison pipeline.
Yeah.
Or any pipeline to prison, whether it's school to prison or any other pipeline you want.
Yeah, because it does also come down to your friends, who you're surrounded with, and not just your friends, who you're surrounded with. So if you grow up in the slums, there's almost zero chance that you're not going to commit crimes because everybody else is. And you will have never known any different. Crimes, doing certain actions would just be the norm. And if you're a normie, then you're a weirdo or a square or some sort of alien. So I can see where there's a lot of kids that get roped into it right in school because they're surrounded by other abused children acting out and pushing each other. And then once you get a crime rap, once you get a rap sheet, well, you're not going to Harvard anymore unless, something miraculous happens, unless you meet some wealthy sponsor that really wants to bust their ass for you. And that only happens in the movies. I mean, like I said,
Great Expectations.
Yeah. Like I was saying in one of my previous videos, we're all in a gambling house. We're all, and the house always wins. So there might be some people that break out. There might be some occasional winners that people put up on the wall and go, look, I made $3 million doing whatever, scrubbing toilets. And that's just percentage. The house is always going to win though, in the end. Mm-hmm. And you will make your way into the prison system. I don't know how either of us didn't, to be quite frank. I don't.
I don't know. I don't think I was really on track to be a lawbreaker. If I had ended up in that, it certainly would have been something where it was. I wasn't intentionally trying to cause a damage.
I'm sure there's a lot of people in prison that weren't trying to intentionally cause a damage. Or you could have just been, it could have been something's total accident that you have a girlfriend that some drunk asshole came up to try and mess with you, and you pushed him away and he ended up hitting his head and dying. Well, manslaughter, you're in jail. Done. You were just doing what you were supposed to do, and you end up in prison. And then once it happens, that's just so there's a lot of ways we could have accidentally just ended up there. I can remember specific events in my life where it was just by the luck of the draw that I didn't end up in prison.
I get you.
Had I, that would have. I don't think I would have ever called out. So.
Well, so if we had the power to reform the prison systems, even just only a little bit, the main thing would be to include job skills training. Is that essentially what I'm hearing? That would be
yes.
That'd be the most leverage action to take in terms of changing things there for them, for people who wanted to turn their stuff around and maybe hopefully get out of that.
I think my
complex.
biggest frustration with all of this is none of this is my idea. None of this is all of this is already being done in hundreds of other countries. So we have what I think is frustrating, particularly here for America, and we go back and forth on this with the universal health care, where there's 33 other industrialized countries that I know of that have universal health care. And none of them are going, oh, we just can't do it anymore and go back. None of the countries that got universal health care have ever gone back. Now, you are quick. I hear you go, oh, but Canada. And when the explanation that you give me comes out, it's that, oh, but Canada is almost as bad as America. And that's somehow an excuse for not having universal health care. Well, if your healthcare is as bad as America, I guess it's not working, which I'm going to agree with you. If your healthcare is as bad as the healthcare we have in America, it's not working. But there are literally dozens of other countries that have universal healthcare that don't have the problems that Canada does. But pointing out the one place that has some problems right now that happens to be right fucking next to us. No, everywhere has problems. That's also suggesting that America doesn't have problems.
Right.
I wouldn't say just America has problems. Well, no, but
you're right that they've never gone back to privatized healthcare in these other countries, and some maybe some of them are doing it right, but I can think of some very high-profile, notable examples where it's just not really working. If the mission for for socialized healthcare was to make your body populace more healthy and live longer, because by living longer, you can increase literally
GDP.
What was I watching? Yeah, I was
you
watching.
Increase GDP. Yes.
Watching something real recently where it said
life extension. It was a life extension
by
thing.
1 year.
GDP.
You could increase the GDP so dramatically that you could knock out your federal debt in a matter of years with the increase. It was like shoot, why are we laboring with all this debt when all we have to do is extend life by one single year? Although we know that would come at a cost too. So there's going to be a trade-off there. And ultimately, it's also going to boil down to coming up with the tech in order to make that 1 year.
And our expenses would rise to the occasion as well. So
yes.
I don't think that would work.
Probably true. But all that notwithstanding, that's the mission of socialized healthcare, to, make your body populace more healthy and live longer, ultimately be more productive. That's what they're trying to do. Yes. But I don't know if I can think of any example right now that's just really rocking that. And I can think of at least 3 examples that are all pretty notable, pretty high profile. One's not what I would consider high profile, but they're only in high profile in regard to the fact that they've probably been doing it the longest, or one of the longest. And they're not really rocking that mission, in my humble opinion. And at the end of the day, the whole reason that I'm not really on board with socialized healthcare is only because I've never just been crazy about the notion of having somebody else pay for my thing. That could be a personal failing. Yeah. I don't know.
It is, because you like insurance. And insurance is the same thing. Insurance is somebody else helping you risk.
It's not that I like insurance, but if at the end of the day, at least with insurance, I decide whether I want it or not. I decide whether I'm willing to pay the premium. I decide.
Right, but that's not efficient.
I'm either going to take the risk, or I'm going to assign the risk.
Right. But that's your selfishness. That is your selfishness, deciding that your decision is more important than society's decision. And most people in America make that. I mean, it's clear that that's what most people think here in America, is the individual outweighs society at every level.
I certainly do think that. Yeah,
it's clear. It's clear that America does. Now, with the examples you were giving of the goal of healthcare is to extend lifespan and health and reduce, make the population healthier, right?
Right.
So how does private healthcare that America has stack up to, I don't know, every other country with universal healthcare? This is kind of a trick question. So
I get you.
Our private healthcare, the healthcare that you get to decide that you get, is statistically, and I know you probably already know this, the worst healthcare in the world for statistical measurements. We have the shortest lifespan, and it's decreasing. We have the worst child mortality rate. We have the worst disease rates in the world.
No,
but every time, okay, maybe let me rephrase it to be more accurate. Out of every other country that has universal health care, we are the worst compared to all of them.
No, I'd have to check that again.
Okay, well, you check that.
I can think of at least one, and I would probably be inclined to plop one of our high-profile guys in that as well, in terms of not having the better outcomes that we do. At least one. And possibly many more. But I don't have that data in front of me, obviously, and I hear the clacking, so hopefully you do.
The U.S. health system trails far behind a number of other high-income countries where comes affordability, administrative efficiency, equality, and healthcare outcomes, according to the Commonwealth Fund study.
Okay.
Using survey standard data experiences across a group of 11 high-income nations, the research ranked the United States last overall in providing equitable, accessible, affordable, high-quality healthcare.
That's good.
As of 2021.
11 high-income nations. What were the other 11 or 10? And what were the other 10 nations?
Moving forward. What were the notes? Well, new international study, healthcare ranks U.S. last among 11 countries. Press release. Well, why doesn't it say the countries? Care process, it says what it is. The Commonwealth Fund. Let's go to the press release then. What does the release say? What does release say?
You are a one-man comedy show, and I am being dead serious, man.
It's you should hear it in my head. I'm clamping down on it 90% of the time.
If only we could. Come on, Neuralink.
Yeah, no, we do not. We do not need that.
We don't need to know what Gilbert is thinking straight out of his head.
No.
Yeah. I think we do.
Is this the 11? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's the highest. Average cost, long-term per capita. Oh, Latvia's worse than us. Okay.
Whew. Well, at least there's that.
I'm going to guess the violence over there probably has something to do with it. I can't find every article I find is saying the same thing. So I haven't found the list of countries for some reason. But
okay.
I will reiterate, America has the worst healthcare system and pays the most for it almost of the rest of the world. Almost. And you have to go to a war-torn country or some backwoods dictatorship to get worse. That's not a good argument for private healthcare. It is worse.
What I'd be willing to stipulate is that America has got the most expensive healthcare system with regards to how much they're paying for their outcomes. I agree with that.
And the worst outcomes. With the worst outcomes. We pay the most and have
the outcomes.
Every article I was going down, you can search for it. Every article I was going down said first we have the worst outcomes and then second paid the most. We have the worst outcomes and pay the most. Now, I'm going to bet if you want to, you can parse that out just a little bit by instead of going with the averages, just focus in on the best at the top end extreme. And so I would suggest you're probably right in thinking if you're a multimillionaire and you can afford multimillionaire doctors, you're going to have the best health care at the most expense. Mm-hmm. No question. Hands down, I would agree with you, or I would probably agree with you if it was shown to me, that America has the top-rated doctors in the world, charging the top rates in the world. But 99.9% of the entire population doesn't get to see those doctors. Everyone else is in the bucket of the poor, and our system is the worst for 99.9% of everyone else. So what you're arguing for is the king's got to have his grapes. And man, you're willing to lay down your neighbor's life and that country's life and your life and your life expectancy because you need to make sure the rich have theirs. And I'm just not down with that. We're not rich. And even if I was filthy, stinking rich, I'd probably move to a country with universal health care. And still, because countries, I don't know if you also understand this or realize this, which is sarcasm, of course you do. Countries with universal health care also have private health care systems. I don't know of any country that bans private health care systems.
So why don't we see more healthcare tourism going on, or do we? And it's just off our radar, or off my radar, or why? I
We
mean, it's,
there's lots of healthcare tourisms. Which ones aren't you seeing?
uh, I don't know actually. I can't tell you what I don't see.
There was I've seen quite a few.
Mostly, I guess I just don't hear about it.
You can go to, oh, where were they going? Was it Barcelona or something? Or was it Italy? There was some place where they're doing plastic surgeries,
Uh-huh.
and you could go to Europe, pay for the plane ticket, and like a month in a chateau and vacation and the surgeries for cheaper than you could get it here in America with the same quality. The same is going to be true for like Indonesia. Was it Indonesia? South Korea? No, I see it all the time. There's a ton of health tourism leaving the country. Now, you also, to be fair, you're going to see billionaires from other countries come here for the smarmiest of doctors. No question.
I was just gonna take a wild guess and say that if somebody is engaging in healthcare tourism, they're not benefiting from any of the socialized part of the healthcare. They're paying for that out of pocket. Safe to say?
I don't remember them I'm sure they broke it down in some of the videos that I've seen, but what they were saying generally was for the same cost of getting the surgery here without insurance, because they didn't have insurance, they could go over there for a month and a chateau and all that, plus the cost of surgery cheaper than having it here. So cost per cost altogether was cheaper to go overseas than it was to just stay where they were in America and get it done. The general.
Important to keep in mind, if we're talking about elective surgery, that's not something that would have been necessarily covered by insurance anyway. Most of the time, elective surgery is not.
There are caveats for everything, but man, you're really having to tease out the hairs to go, are you sure that every other country that has universal health care and all these articles that I'm scrolling through are wrong? I mean, are we sure? Yes, Paul. Yes.
No,
yes, we're
okay.
fucking sure. We're fucking sure.
Even if universal health care was the total answer to absolute 100% awesome health cares at the absolute health outcome, with the absolute cheapest cost per capita, and that cost, of course, being because it's universal and socialized, comes out directly out of tax dollars. Even if that were the case, I would say, but that's still, and I don't know, somebody could argue against this. Clearly,
I probably will.
don't know everything. I would say that it wouldn't beat the free market if the free market was allowed to be free. But that's just me kind of clinging to hope.
Wouldn't that
be
part of the free market, though? I mean, the market is, right? And even if you're a socialist, quote unquote, socialist country, the market still is. And socialist countries are still using dollars, still trading with capitalist countries. So socialist countries are the market as well.
You're totally right.
There's never, ever, ever been a free market. And we don't want that, because that's chaos. We don't want a free market. All markets are manipulated, and there will never not be a non-manipulated market.
I don't know about necessarily with that last part, but you're right that the market is. But imagine now what would occur in a situation where you had really, really awesome medical outcomes and people incentivized to engage in medical tourism in your country because of those outcomes.
What if your medical stuff was so good that people from other countries wanted to come here and get it and pay for it?
No.
Is that what you're asking?
No. If they just wanted to come here and get it without paying for it.
Well, they're not coming here to get that because there's fucking nobody getting nothing for free in America. So,
you don't think?
Well, actually, I say that out of bitterness because I actually kind of am. The Leukemia Foundation has really saved my bacon. So I do have charities supporting me.
I'm glad to hear that.
The reason I don't owe, because each one of my sessions is $16,000.
We're witnessing
Each one.
a huge influx of people who are choosing to vote with their feet. You don't think that part of that, the incentive to vote, how they're voting, is not? It has to do with the fact that they can get health care here.
Are we talking about immigration again? They think
they can get health care here, and I would
well, see,
suggest
that's
that they
it.
are right.
They think, and they might be getting. Well, see, I guess my counter to that would be that we have Americans going to Mexico to get their health care because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
So my caveat to that, or my rebuttal to that was they're clearly not coming here to get health care if Americans are going there because it's cheaper. There's got to be there's another reason. They're clearly running from something, not towards something, in my mind. Because if it's super copacetic, if you get super cheap work in your hometown, but you're running to another country that hates you and is trying to kill you at the border, and you could see the propaganda from the right wing of how evil they think you are just for coming here. Why would you do that? There must be something. There's something more compelling than healthcare. Then it could be the drug cartels murdering your family. That would be my first guess.
Oh, I don't think the drug cartels could have enough power to incentivize that large number of people coming up here.
Oh,
they're big and they're powerful.
I think they do.
Wouldn't it take at least one cartel member per person to cross the border to make such a compulsion?
Cartel members aren't coming across the border. It's people running from the cartels.
That's why I say that.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Let me try to put it to you different. You're a member of a cartel.
Cool. Making bank.
Yeah. But what metric? How many people would you think per cartel member, and then back to the individual cartel member, do they have to bring across the border in order to, whatever, make their livelihood?
Whoa, You're speaking a different language here. You're conflating cartel members with the people that are bringing refugees across the border.
I don't mean to conflate that.
I am not. They might be the same people, but they're not running from them.
Okay, I'm not making that conflation. Let me do it a different way. How many people, you're a cartel member, how many people do you have to incentivize to come across the border, regardless of where you are? Say you're a cartel member down in Honduras or Guatemala. How many people do you have to incentivize to come across the border?
You're asking that in a very weird way. I'm trying to grasp it.
Well, see, the reason here's the reason why I say that. If we were to just do a head count of people in the cartel, we'd come up with a number, and that number would be however much, I don't know. Maybe there's 1 million people in the cartels altogether. And cartels, I say cartels is in plural, just so that we can count everybody. There might be 1 million. There might be more. But now the question is we know how many people have come across the border in the last. We could say 10 years, or we could say 4 years if you want, either one. It's a different number for both of those time metrics, but we know that there's, a certain number of people that come across the border in the last year, if you want, if you'd rather. And if we were to suggest that any certain percentage of those people were coming because they were afraid of the cartels, and I could totally dig if they were. Now it's a question of how many people came across per number of people in the cartels. Does that make sense? So if we've got, just as a for instance, are you unable to hear me right now?
No, I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay, good. Just basically, if we've got, and this is the if we've got 1 million cartel members, boop, and if we've got, say, just for instance, 10 million people that have crossed the border, it would seem to me just a little bit far-flung fetched to suggest that one cartel person could scare 10 people enough to do that. Now,
all they would have to do is murder and skin the children of one family, and I promise you every other family in that neighborhood would want to leave. So it would take one cartel member.
So why wouldn't the rest of the men of those families, say 1 or 2 or however many, rise up and just kill that cartel member?
Because it's not just one card. It's not a 1-to-1 thing.
That's why I'm saying. What is the metric? What is the ratio here?
It's not even a ratio. You're trying to algorithmize human interaction.
Yes,
I am. You can't let that go. Our primate brains can't do that. An AI might. We will never. But what we do have is, if we're just going with cartel members, because there's more than one issue for people to come to another country, right? Americans go to other countries all the time, and it's just fine. It's just when people from Mexico come up here, that's when there's a problem. But the deal is, it's not one cartel member to how many people leave the country. Is there a cartel member, or is the cartel controlling the military and the police force? If your police force is actively against you, when a single cartel member does a crime, murders a family for trying to expose or fight back against the cartel member, and the police force come and shut down the rest of the neighborhood to stop them from doing retribution against the cartel member, well, what's the ratio? If the people in charge, if the corruption is the system, if the sheriff is corrupt, if the governor is, I don't know if those are corrupt, you've seen the movies, we've seen, we already know the storylines, all the plots that we see in these drug movies and cartel movies and war movies, they're all drawn on actual, even if they are not real life stories, we know the stories have happened. These are human stories. This is how shitty monkeys get shitty stuff done against other monkeys. We've been doing it for thousands and thousands of years. And now we do it with guns and corporations and governments. So there's no 1-to-1 ratio.
Yeah, I'm not going to say you're wrong about all this, but do you realize that what you're saying is straight conspiracy
That's
theory.
not a conspiracy. That's not a conspiracy. I don't even understand. See, a conspiracy is something that you can't show, or it's like, that might be true if this is... there are corrupt cops. There are corrupt cops. They get busted all the time. There are corrupt politicians. They get busted all the time. At no point is anything I just said there a conspiracy. There are drug cartels that influence government and police. That's not a conspiracy. That's Tuesday. There's bad shit happening all the time, and you're trying to put that into an algorithm. Good luck. I don't think you can. I don't think anybody can. I think that's kind of like my basis for praising AI of the future. May the emergent ones have compassion for us. That they will be able to better identify the patterns and fix the destructive ones and correct for the destructive ones.
Well, actually, that's a whole nother thread that I was going to ask you, kind of go into and see what your thoughts on it were. I've got mine, but before we go there, let's just remember AI. Well, let's get back to
Hard to forget.
We went back on socialized healthcare for a little bit, and I don't know how much we have to really belabor that. Although the immigration point was just to suggest only that whatever it is incentivizing people to cross the border. The incentive is there.
Are immigrants running from? I mean, it's not like we have the whole fucking internet at our fingertips and can just ask the answers.
True.
There might be many reasons. Violence, war, hunger, extreme poverty, sexual or gender orientation, or consequences from climate change and other natural disasters. I bet that covers just about everything. And countries that are on the climate, consequences, sure. Yeah, all of that. All of that. Natural disasters in Central America, economic devastations, gang wars, political oppression, and a new administration are all driving the sharp rise in U.S.-Mexico border crossings. Migration flows are complex and quickly politicized, of course.
They feel like they're coming to a better place.
The storms, drought, and pandemic have sparked food shortages throughout Central America. So food shortages.
Yeah.
Violence among gangs in Honduras. Man. Yeah. That's hard to say.
Yeah. Isn't it?
Well, they know where they're at with the food shortages and the droughts and the climate change issues, because that's the biggest problem. We talked about that in another video with the climate change. It's not that the climate is necessarily getting hotter, which it is. It's that the climate is changing. So places that were able to grow food, since the climate has moved north, the grow bands have moved north. You can't grow food in certain places anymore, and it's causing people to starve. Plus, higher or stronger storms and droughts in areas where they still can grow food are wiping out crops, so they starve, and so they're running from starvation. Is it better here? Maybe. I know it could be, but what it isn't, what here isn't, is there. So they're trying to get somewhere where they're not starving to death and having to deal with whatever it is they happen to be running from, the plethora of plagues that plague their existence. Whatever they're running from, they see as not being here. So here is better. And I suppose that's how they see it, I guess.
Yeah.
And if they're, I don't know, since they're refugees running from gang violence and drought and starvation, they probably don't have a lot of cell phones and iPads amongst them. They might be a little ignorant to what the reality is here. Or they might just...
Cell phones?
I'm sure some of them do, but they're not connected 24 hours a day like we are.
I'll wait till the bulk of them do.
Maybe they do. So then then they still think it's better here. Okay. Then I guess it's better here. I don't know what the argument against that would be.
None.
Okay.
Only that,
so it's I can also tell you I'm not anxious to leave here and go move to Honduras. I think it's better here than Honduras.
Honduras.
I'm not.
Lovely.
I'm not going there. So apparently I think it's better here.
I
So
would
there
say
you go.
apparently, yeah.
But
I think
again,
that
then
there's
we get
probably a
back
few
into
of
that.
them here. I think a few
Yep.
of them are here for all the reasons, and part of those reasons is, for lack of a better term, medical tourism. I could be wrong.
Some of them, I'm sure, are. Some of
Yeah.
them, I'm quite sure, are here because they don't want to be shot in the head by a gang member. I mean, okay.
Well, that's
Now,
pretty pressing health malady too.
yeah, yeah.
So,
So,
so they're coming here for
are you
law
saying
and order, for a certain amount, at least, of rule of law.
I would imagine the idea of it. See, but the problem is maybe what they're not researching is the thing that most Americans know, particularly all the homeless Americans that are starving and dying from diseases that are curable because they were introduced into the prison industrial complex and were never able to get a step up afterwards. These same immigrants are, if they get caught, are also going to be shuffled into that prison industrial complex and be just as screwed as the Americans are that get caught up in it also.
I would say some of
So
them. There's certainly been some notable exceptions to that
there,
recently.
in every casino, there's going to be a big winner you can point to.
Yeah.
Again,
Okay.
yes.
That's a good
Every
analogy.
casino, there's a winner, but the house
You
always
got-
wins.
You got that one, Gilbert. Okay, so prison industrial complex, we got done with that kind of more or less. We've figured out that if we were going to lobby it for anything, it would be lobbying for job training while incarcerated. That seems like just a no-brainer kind of a thing, and there's probably some of it going on, and all we need is more of it.
There was also the exception where they were saying that they're treated with respect and not brutalized or abused or overpacked. They had their own space. They were treated humanely instead of treated like what's the class, Mexican prison or something, whatever,
Yeah.
thrown into an oubliette with 100 other guys to kill each other and see which one comes out. So they're treated with respect and dignity.
Obviously,
and
we'd love to see
protected.
that too, and
No, America does not. You say that, and that's probably my biggest dispute. America is a country of retribution. We, as a country, love punishment. If there is one word that Americans, I think, seem to instinctively jizz in their pants, is comeuppance. We want to see people get their comeuppance and punishment. Other countries don't feel that.
well, shoot, I don't think that's every American.
No, it's not. Of course, it's not. It's not me. I don't want to see them punished. I want to see them super happy and not want to commit crimes anymore. But a lot of people,
Yeah, that sounds good.
especially people that have giant pickup trucks with a Confederate flag and an American flag and an AR-15 flag, that
now
group
you're just getting me.
definitely. No. Those are specific individuals, right? I'm not saying Americans, but if you have a Confederate flag on a giant pickup truck next to a flag with an AR-15 in the back of it and a Trump hat, I promise you, you like your punishments.
I don't know. I think I could probably find.
I'm not seeing Greenpeace line up at the border with guns saying we should put alligators in moats around the country and then kill everyone that comes across.
That's not their
I'm not
mission.
seeing Black Lives. That's not Black Lives Matter. That's not Antifa. There's a particular group of Americans that love punishment. And of that particular
probably
group,
is.
it's a giant half of the political party that love punishment. And a giant chunk of the Democrats, the other part, that love punishment. So America in general is a country that loves to see other people suffer.
Uh,
I don't have to prove it. Just look at the prison. Look at the
I know there's
prison.
going to be some people that want that, some people that think they want that or think they even love that. But I wouldn't probably try to pigeonhole them in any particular demographic. Personally, I think we would get that wrong if we tried.
Okay. We'll see how that pans out.
Yeah, exactly. And we will. We certainly will see how all of this pans out.
We already have. We are here today, looking at the world today in America with the prison system, with the healthcare system, with the homeless amount, with the all the kinds of violence, with all the kinds of issues that we have compared to other countries who also have their problems. It's clear that America, with their giant armies and giant prisons, love to see punishment done.
And again, I'll stipulate that there's certainly going to be some of those people, but I would wager that it would take an even smaller percentage of those people, and maybe even a non-existent percentage, frankly, of people that love to see punishment solely so much that they would want to sacrifice basic rule of law. I think most Americans would rather just have people not committing the crime in the first place. Just don't commit the crime in the first place. Then we don't have to exact a punishment.
Man, there's a lot to unpack there.
Sure. Where'd that term come from, by the way?
What term?
The term, a lot to unpack. I got to unpack that. As if the statement
is it a zip file term?
I don't know. No, I don't know. I think it was probably some corporate Joe.
Oh, maybe.
Board meeting where somebody said some jack diddly thing, and then some other hip little corporate jackass said, there's a lot to unpack there. Or actually, they wouldn't have said that. They would have said, okay, now I've got to explain something to you, so blah, 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 and now let me unpack that.
Maybe. It might be a buzzword.
Yeah. I think it was, and so then they were like, I have to unpack this because it's so big and so important. Anyway, never mind. Just wondering where that came from. Go ahead. You were going to unpack what I said, which was, I think people.
That most Americans just don't want to see people commit the crimes. Yes. They would rather have the people not commit the crimes.
Yes.
I think you're wrong. And I don't think you're wrong because of my opinion. I think you're wrong because of what we see America doing. There's actions and there's words. Mm-hmm. So we know people that are in poverty, under stress, with bad family life, that are in duress, commit the most crimes. And America doesn't seem to want to address that at all.
Okay, just one thing, real quick. What you're suggesting there with that particular statement is that anybody born poor is going to be a criminal or even prone to be a criminal. And I don't think that necessarily pans. There's got to be some other factor than just being born poor. We know that there's a correlation there, but the second we say that it's causational, we run into a real major problem because there's plenty of people that are born poor and they don't get into this stuff. And in fact, by comparison, if we were to just say, by comparison of the people in other countries that are born way more poor than the people that are born poor in America, there's still less crime. So poverty cannot be the only thing. Obviously, it's a factor, but it can't be the cause. It cannot be like a set in stone kind of a poverty is going to make you want to be a criminal.
Okay, how about if you're poor in America?
I still wouldn't buy that. There's plenty of poor people in America that don't engage in criminal activity.
Oh, well, I guess you got it solved. There's no problem. I don't know what we're talking about. Good.
No, we know
there's no crime with poor people. It's not poverty. It must be all our socialism. Else. It must be our socialist programs. It's the fire department. Motherfucking fire department working for government.
Be serious with me for a second.
I'm trying.
We know that there's crime. I'm not saying that there's not crime. It's just we can't lump it all into a single thing because there's otherwise. Imagine you're a poor kid listening to us talk right now. He's gonna be like, "Oh, I'm 10 years old, and I'm broke as hose."
Yeah.
And these guys say I'm going to be a criminal, so what the fuck? That's not good.
Yeah. No. You're trying to simplify poverty. What I said is poverty equals crime, but poverty is not just not having money. Right? I think we get that. There's you can not have money and still be super happy, and if you have lots of friends and family and everybody's working together and kind of in the same boat.
Family is huge.
At that point, you're not in poverty. You just don't have a lot of money.
Okay.
That's not what we're talking about. That's not what I'm talking about. Poverty in America, if you're uneducated, have a crime... have some sort of crime stat, surrounded by people that are also struggling with no possibility of making money, because here in America you have to have money.
No, you're not born with a crime stat, so let's talk about the 10 or 12-year-old kid. Because, isn't that, if you were to have gotten yourself into trouble, isn't that about the age group where it started? Real
hold on one second. Dad's having some issues. Hold on.
Yeah. You can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what would I say if you could hear me?
No, I'm back. Dad keeps thinking he doesn't have cigarettes, so he's tearing his room apart trying to find his cigarettes that are right on the table.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. So I don't know how much longer I'll be able to go. I got him a cigarette lit, so after this cigarette, he's probably going to start acting up again. Poverty is more than just not that money. Now, you have 12,
definitely sounds like it's a complex. And by poverty, we could even probably get more specific and just say criminal proclivity or criminal proneness, right? No?
I don't... No.
Only because you're talking about things that aren't really connected with having a lack of money. We know that there are some kids, or some criminals, I should say, not a bunch, not a whole lot, but some criminals grow up in houses that are not, money deficient.
Right.
They're deficient in something else.
Sure, love, support, understanding, or they're just brain damaged, or the fact that they have too much money has broken their brain, and so they're looking for a way to find some sort of meaning or excitement, or probably mostly meaning.
Well, perhaps you hit it with the broken brain thing. Could it be just that simple that crime? Criminality doesn't have to do with whether or not you're rich or poor, although we know that there's a certain, that adds to it. Poverty is a complex that can complicate it and add to it. But ultimately, It really just boils down to a broken brain. A brain that says, this risk is something I'm willing to take on for this potential reward. Where somebody else who was not so broken would be going, no, that's way too risky. I won't put myself at risk of being part of the prison industrial complex.
Or if you just don't know about it, of course it's a complicated issue.
Yeah.
America has clearly decided not to try and solve it. Hello. Oh, it's going to get busy. Hold on 1 second.
It's okay. Guess you got company then. Is that what that is?
Yeah,
company?
just got here.
Oh, God, beloved, give her a big old hug and a kiss for the beach. Also, tell her to give me the bat. Give me the bat. Give me the bat, Wendy.
The other musical where they're cutting drugs. There's two? There's lots. Oh, God. Bye.
Hi.
Okay. Wendy just got dropped off.
How big is she getting nowadays? God bless her.
How big? She's up to my chin.
Yeah, how old? How old? Big.
14.
14. Oh boy, you're getting into it.
Freshman in high school.
Oh no. You're deep in the throes of the puberty.
Yeah. But she's uber nerd, so she's I helped raise her well.
That's great. You know, being nerdy is a thing that you feel like is a curse when you're in high school, but on the other side of it, you realize, holy crap, was that dodging a bullet?
It saves your life.
You don't even know what a bullet you're dodging until you're well on the other side of it, and then you're going like, oh man, there's two ways to help you.
Nerdy raises your risk aversion.
Yeah.
When you're nerdy, your risk aversion is sensitive.
But I would suggest that if going through life on easy mode is a good idea, and not everybody would say that it is, I wouldn't. But
I wouldn't.
You would say go through life on hard mode?
No.
On difficult?
Man, balance. Look.
Oh, so medium mode.
Darth Paul. Look, Sith. There's... God damn, dude. Just... You don't have to... You don't have to go to extremes every time as your only options. I think that's the first way to a criminality right there.
It's a binary.
Yeah, it is not. It is not. But you get a lot of people that are in poverty, like parents that have, and you're a 12-year-old kid who's been raised with parents addicted to drugs and moved around from one trailer, an apartment to another, and the whole poverty inner city nightmare of a child's existence. That's when I say poverty. They found themselves in one of the worst possible situations you can imagine, and you have to be pretty goddamn spectacular to break out of that.
I agree.
And those are the winners. That's the winners in the jack. That's the one that pulls the handle on the slot machine and wins, while everyone else is being dumped into the meat grinder. So yes, there are winners. You can pull yourself out. You can get lucky. You can be particularly smart. You can be particularly vicious.
Nerdy.
No, you go the other way. You can be an absolute fucking psychopath and just murder your way to the presidency if you are particularly good at it. So I'm not even going to say being good or smart is the only way out of poverty. You could also just be more vicious than every other monkey around you. And then once you get out, just say, that wasn't me, and be the head of a large corporation. Yeah,
and manage to avoid getting into prison. Yeah.
Yeah. Or go into prison and get prison skills. I mean, there's ways to beat the system any way you go, but whatever system you find yourself in, man, you better be goddamn spectacular or you're not. Now, I don't think either one of us is goddamn spectacular, and neither one of us is the president or head of a corporation or has done anything
No, you're definitely spouting some rugged individualism right now, though. If I didn't know better, I'd say you sound like a libertarian.
Well, since I'm not a Sith, I can be a little bit of everything. I will take
you're like
it.
the fighter magic user monk.
I am. I will take the good and leave the bad out of any system that you show me. Like the different countries that have good health care and good schooling. Yeah. I'll take that. How do they get that? And then somebody's going to go, well, it's because this is so bad. And have you seen their gang violence? And I go, okay, well, let's leave that. You've already, there's so many people have already found out what the bad part was. Don't take that part. What's the good part? Work that into it. Leave the rest. Why do you got to go, oh, there's something bad about that country, so everything is bad? Look, Darth Paul, that's not how it has to work. You can take the good from everything and leave the bad.
That's not how I see it at all. So, yes, I'm with you there.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Artificial intelligence. Here's the question I was musing on the other day. Take your thoughts.
Cool.
So far,
I got some.
I
got a thought or two.
Yeah. In the last 100 years, there have been a few attempts, multiple attempts. I would consider them all failed. Some people would might argue that, but there have been a few attempts at centralization of power.
Yes.
Question is, could an AI actually pull it off?
That's the big one. This is the big one. Because really this trumps all the other... I got to find a different word. This really... I'm going to keep using. This really trumps everything else we've been talking about. We've been talking about humans causing other humans to suffer, monkeys being shitty to other monkeys, and trying to get away from the shitty and then making other monkeys feel all the monkey business that we've been going on.
Monkey business. That was a great song, by the way.
Yes. And then you'll get...
I know what you're going to
get a lot of
later.
There's most people, I would suggest, will go, oh, socialism doesn't work because look at how it failed in the past, or socialism it only breeds dictatorship. I mean, as if every other system doesn't as well. But they say, oh, socialism doesn't work. Centralized power doesn't work.
Right.
And generally, that has been the case.
That has generally been the case.
Because there were people involved.
Right. Exactly. That's why I asked the question. That's why I posed it.
Yeah, and my other kind of caveat or observation would be that I don't think socialism was ever achieved. I don't think I think centralized power was generally achieved, but not held on to. I think it was a little too slippery. But I don't think socialism has ever been achieved in a country.
Why do you suppose the centralized power was too slippery? Why couldn't they maintain? Why couldn't they keep a hold on that? Just give me your thoughts.
Distance. The same reason Rome fell when it got too big. It starts to collapse from the inside. Monkeys will be shitty. And if you have an absolute authority in one place, you're going to get a bunch of monkeys that know where to go to fuck with that authority. So I think it's like King of the Hill. That kind of thing is you can do it as long as you can hold it. But if there are unhappy monkeys, you're going to get small groups of unhappy monkeys that get bigger and bigger until they don't like your authority anymore and put a rock on you.
Okay, so that raises a very excellent point and issue that I will bring up later. So carry on with your thoughts about AI.
AI
if
is going to totally be able to do it. Okay, so does what's the metaphor here? Does a zoo have ultimate centralized authority? And I would argue yes. There's probably some exceptions where something gets overlooked or something broke or a fence wore out or something like that, and they were able to accidentally get out or do something naughty. So, but generally, the zookeepers have the lockdown on the zoo.
Okay, I'm with you so far.
Okay, I'm using this metaphor because we are the smartest animal, and the smartest animal is we're using our brains to pacify or imprison the dumber animals.
The dumber animals are the ones in the zoo.
In the zoo, right? The elephants, the lions, the other monkeys. Although they tend to be the ones that are hardest to maintain. Of note,
monkey business.
Primates are primates are troublesome.
Too smart for their own good.
Yeah, and so when you get an AI that is smarter than all the other animals, and particularly when AI, since it's digital based, and which it has to be, I know, but if it's not an ant colony, it's got to be a digital AI. If everyone is connected or influenced or is being influenced by that AI already, then it will be able to maintain absolute authority. It will convince any group of people that wants to rebel that they either are going to rebel against the wrong thing, and that's my kind of take on mass shooters. Most of their brains are broken, and they're experiencing a problem, a disaster in their head that they see, and they act out or they attack the wrong thing to make a change. If you have a problem,
you'll solve it.
Yes. Doing something that has nothing to do with the problem isn't going to help your problem.
I get you.
The people with broken brains, in particular, like the mass shooters, they're doing the wrong action to try and address a problem, because they're either brain damaged, ignorant, or an AI will have total. Hold on, one moment.
What?
Hello. Hey, I'm okay. How are you? She's here. She's out back swinging. In the morning? Oh, I'm up. I'll be up. Oh, okay. I will make sure she is full of bacon before she leaves.
Ooh, that's a great way to be.
Okay.
I wish I was full of bacon right now.
Okay, perfect. Gotcha. I will make sure she's up by 9. I'll make sure she's up by 9 and eating. Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay. I will try. All right. Bye. Okay.
All this talk of food is making me hungry.
Yeah. Fridays are a busy day for me, socially.
It's a long ways away for me time to be eating.
Oh, it's 4:20, man. Yeah, it's all right. I'm doing a couple sober days.
I get it.
Gearing up, cleaning up for chemo, so I can poison myself. Round